Pokemon Legends ZA is an open-world monster-catching game where the player has to essentially stop the end of the world. Definitely an intriguing premise, but how well does it fit the lifestyle of a busy or new parent? That's what I'm going to try to answer. To be clear, I'm not actually going to look too much at the overall game design, like graphics or how interesting the story is. Some of those things are subjective anyways. I'm going to focus on how well this game fits into a chaotic, unpredictable schedule. First, let's look at flexibility. The life of a busy parent is unpredictable. Sleep regressions, teething, learning new skills, illnesses, random visiting relatives, not to mention just taking care of the house, working, and all the other parts of just being an adult. Tons of things can come up and absolutely wreck any chance you had at a peaceful gaming session. So a game that can easily be picked up and put down is a must. Being on the Switch means that Legends ZA can be paused at any time. Just hit the lock or home button, bam, you're good to go. Plus, it is fully portable. So if you have a baby like mine, who will only nap glued to you, you can still get in some relaxing game time. It's much easier to get that mental health break when you don't have to boot up a big system in your bedroom or basement or wherever. Legends ZA also has a really forgiving saving system. There aren't many times or places in the game where you can't save, and there are constant auto and backup saves. So if your Switch dies while your game was paused, because you had to help your little one figure out how to fall back asleep again, and you accidentally fell asleep too, and it's been, 2 days. Not to worry, you likely didn't lose too much progress. Even the online play is relatively forgiving. Most online games, like, say, League of Legends, matches can be like 20 minutes minimum. Legends ZA online matches are only 3 minutes. So even if your little one does wake up having a complete meltdown, it's not hard to get to them quickly without risking any AFK consequences. Just note that online play needs the Nintendo Switch Online membership. Overall, for flexibility, I'm giving Legends ZA an A. But flexibility isn't the only factor when considering what game works best for a chaotic lifestyle. The time commitment needed to progress is also a huge factor. And this is where Legends ZA struggles. The tutorial is just plain painful. I think it took me like 3 days. Mind you, I was playing during a sleep regression, so my son was waking up every 45 minutes, but still, that's kind of ridiculous. I know they designed it to integrate into the story more, so it wasn't just a bunch of reading at the beginning, and I guess it was implemented well in that sense, but it's so long. It's very cutscene heavy, and in true Pokemon fashion, cutscenes are not skippable, lack autoplay, and are all text. No voiceovers here. While text speeds can be adjusted, I still find myself just button mashing my way through so much of the story. The gameplay itself isn't too bad. Missions and story points themselves generally don't take too long. Maybe 5 to 15 minutes or so. And there isn't a huge need of grinding if you break the Mega Crystals while you play. Then it isn't too difficult to get the Mega Stones. But the ZA Royale itself can be a bit of a slog. It's very repetitive, and it can take a while, especially late game, to grind out the points for the Challengers tickets. And if you want that shiny charm and don't have the DLC, be prepared for needing to complete over 1,000 battles. Yeah, I tapped out of that one. For just the main story though, you should be able to get through it in like 20 to 25 hours or so. 40 to 45 if you're also doing all the side missions. So for time commitment, I'm gonna have to give it a C, just because those challenger tickets and what you have to go through to get the shiny charm and to get through the tutorial and those unskippable cutscenes. Sometimes it's okay if a game is really time intensive, so long as it's rewarding. Which brings us to our next category. And this is one where Legends ZA actually does quite well. Right from the beginning of the story, you get access to what feels like a pretty good-sized map, with a pretty wide variety of Pokemon right in the city. And as you progress, more areas become available, each with even more Pokemon for you to catch. Generally, the boss battles are challenging, but aren't punishing. I only lost a couple of battles during my entire playthrough, but I still wouldn't say it was easy. There was still enough challenge for it to be exciting, and I had a lot of close calls, but nothing was punishingly difficult. Even with a short play session, it's generally pretty easy to feel like you've accomplished something, from progressing your Pokedex to defeating a boss or making it through some missions. But the real star of the show is shiny hunting. I've never been able to do shiny hunting, since it takes up so much time. Even more so now that I'm a parent. But this game just makes it so much easier. Legends ZA saves up to 10 shiny Pokemon that you have spawned somewhere in the world, but may have missed for whatever reason. And there is something so exciting about hearing that shiny Pokemon noise when you are just running through the city on your way to the next mission. And it's pretty easy to respawn entire areas repeatedly, especially with a turbo controller if you go that route, so you can force spawns of shinies. All this to say, for rewarding, I give Legends ZA an A. Some games can be relatively rewarding and not require a ton of grinding, but still feel frustrating to play. If you have to spend time or energy trying to remember what is going on in the story, or what you were expected to do and where you need to go, it can really take a lot of joy out of your gaming session, especially when the gaming session is short or there's a lot of time between sessions. For this category, we're going to look at the mental load Legends EA puts on the user. And honestly, it isn't too much. The game has clear indicators of where missions are, both on your map, and they can be seen in your character's view as well. Locations and side missions can be tagged so that they show up in your view too. The story is simple and straightforward, with NPCs occasionally reminding you of things as the story progresses. So even if you have to step away for a few days, it's pretty easy to dive right back into the game. I button mashed my way through most of the game, and I still know pretty much exactly what happened in this story. And there was even one point where I wasn't able to play for an entire month. Other than taking like 10 to 15 minutes learning the controls again, it was not difficult to get right back in. For this reason, I'm giving Legends EA an A for mental load. This wouldn't really be a grade for parents if we didn't look at how family-friendly Legends EA is. And I don't think it's a huge surprise that it does pretty well here. Pokémon is naturally geared towards kids, but generally slightly older ones. I think the official ranking is like 10 and up. There's a lot of reading and cartoon violence, but no one ever really gets hurt. Some of the Pokémon and the battles might be a little intense for younger or more sensitive kids, especially the tower turning into a giant monster, or the Litwick trying to suck the life force out of children. Maybe don't let your kids read Pokedex entries. But generally, it's pretty safe to play around your little ones. If you are doing no or minimal screen time with your kids, then it's probably best to leave video games in general until during nap or bedtime. But if you are looking for a game to introduce your kids to share your passion with them, this one might be pretty good. You might want to start with something like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee or Pokemon Go before getting to this, just with the easier controls. But if your kid's a little bit older, this is a good place to start. For family friendliness, I'm giving Legends EA a B. Overall, Legends EA is a pretty good match for chaotic, unpredictable lifestyle of parents. The game feels like a slog in places, and there's a definite need for the ability to skip some cutscenes. But overall, the game feels rewarding, fits well with short interrupted play sessions, and is pretty flexible. Overall, I'm giving it a B. I'm pretty biased though. I grew up with Pokemon. What do you think? Let me know in your comments below if you agree or disagree with this, or if there's other criteria I should have included. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more reviews designed specifically for gaming parents. Hopefully see you in the next one.